Welcome in the ring to each and every one of you. Let's fight. Good to have all of you with us, wherever you're joining us from this evening. Share the live for us and smash, 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 smash that emoji button. Great to have each and every one of you with us. I'm waiting for the sound to subside so you hear our mic clear. But great to have each and every one of you folks, as we say, in the ring, on the live with us this evening. Oh, what a day it was in the National Assembly. What a day it was in the National Assembly. I know some of my colleagues are still in the National Assembly. That's happening behind us. But great to have you folks out front. Over $80 billion in a supplementary budget. They've come with two financial papers. This is the members of the government have come with a financial paper for over $80 billion. And it seems like they don't want to answer no questions. They just want us to rubber stamp this thing and say, take them. Go forth and conquer. But the National Assembly is a place you scrutinize. Robust debate happens there. And in that process of robust debate happening, you have a lot of questions that must be asked, folks. As we give an account for tenure, they have to give an account for their tenure as well, but they don't want to do that. They don't want to do that, brothers and sisters. That is what brought us to this evening. Good to have each and every one of you here, folks. We can give you all an overview of some that transpired. Some things. Pull it back for those of you who might have missed it. Godfrey Montaigne, Margaret Nelson did. They just want the cheese, Margaret. And the cheddar. Vanilla, Debbie, Linden, Willie Mohan, Brennan Thompson. They just want Robert Stanley his hair, take it. Robert, take it. We don't operate like that. We got to scrutinize. We got to do the work of the people. We have to do the work of the people. So we can be talking about what transpired in the National Assembly today as the PPP installed regime government. They brought two financial papers, folks, as I said, equaling over $80 billion. I said, don't come wrong, we funny. See where we got to this part? $30 billion going to the cash grant. $30 billion. Another $50 billion to all kinds of projects. And they don't want to enjoy the questioning. They don't want to do that. I had some things to ask them because they kept saying, oh, they're offering so much clarity. Clarity and clarity. Take a look, some of what I said.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, members of the parliamentary opposition, we're seeking clarity not in a vacuum. It was this honorable government that came to this house on the 10th day of October and told us that we are going to get 200,000 per household instantaneously. And we went on that. And then they came back and said it's in about 5 months. And then they said it was going to be through an app you're going to register. And now you have to register in person. And then we heard the finance minister said overnight, if you don't take your photograph, you can't get the money. Right? And then we saw the Attorney General speak on biometrics, and then the Vice President said he don't speak for the government. So we're seeking clarity in the House. Right? This has been, Mr. Speaker, you would recognize this issue of the cash grant. It has been an enigma wrapped in a mystery. And that is why we're seeking the clarifications we're seeking here this afternoon. Because one person says something else, the president says instantaneously, the vice president says no, in 5 months. In this very house, the president said instantaneously.
Okay, honorable member, so for clarity, what do we want to ask the honorable Prime Minister?
Right? The question that I have, my first question, Mr. Speaker, is what percentage of the population is represented in this requested allocation, this 30 billion?
Honorable Prime Minister.
apologies there. We're taking our photographs now. How are you guys going to register? You see, they don't want it drilling down. They don't want it drilling down, Naomi. How are we going to know what's happening? You're just asking them a couple questions. Dorrit, how the folks in the diaspora, how are you folks going to get this cash grant? Hazel, did you guys hear what I was asking there in the National Assembly? Did you guys hear what I was asking in the National Assembly? Let us know. I see some folks saying song. I don't know if it's the studio song or is it song from the clip or both. How y'all going to register? I don't know. And then carry some of the family, friends, and favorite by the embassies there. What are they going to do? How y'all going to register? How are you folks going to? They don't like when you're drilling down. They don't like when you're drilling down and asking these things. So on the sidelines of the National Assembly today, on the sidelines, folks, spoke to some of my parliamentary colleagues there and asked them their impression of how things went, how things were going. I think we were at the half mark. The opener, let's start with the Honorable Valda Lawrence. As we say, she's an old head in this business here. How did she think the session went? They don't want questions to be asked. They don't want scrutiny. Rubber stamp everything and give them. Take a listen.
Well, first, let me say that here it is. The assets of the Guyanese people are being politicized because you have the government side trying to make others believe that they're giving us something.
Mm-hmm.
They're not giving me anything. This is my heritage. I was born here. And whatever comes out of this country, I'm entitled to it. Just like every other Guyanese, they're entitled to it. So it's an entitlement. But what I find is that there has been no clearly thought out program. There seems not to be a beginning nor an end to this distribution. And there are a lot of confusion and there are a lot of speakers on this matter. So you're not sure who to really believe. We heard from the president first, then we heard from the vice president contradicting what the president said. He said it would be an instant payment. The vice president came and said, oh, it's not so. It would take about 5 months. Then we heard that you're going to access this grant by filling out an app. And I think a lot of people was like, oh, okay, at least everybody has a phone, or people can use other person's phone to fill out. And then all of a sudden, you heard that you had to not just appear in person, but you had to take a photograph. You also have to give information. I have just registered, and I had to give information of my address, my contact number, if I'm receiving any pensions or monies.
Did they take a photograph of the ID card?
Yes, they took a photograph of my ID card and they did scan the back of my ID card, the barcode. But then they went out to ask other questions. I should name someone just in case they don't get me. So I said, send me a WhatsApp message. I should also indicate to them if I'm receiving any other pensions from the government or the Ministry of Social Security.
Is that a disqualification?
Well, I don't know. I hope somebody can explain these things to us. Or whether I was getting NIS pension, etc. So it's not what they're telling you, and I think that is what is causing the confusion. For me, Sherrod, it's not new. This government seems to have a hype in confusing anything they do for the public. And as you know, we started off per household and they couldn't define the households. We asked for the census to get an insight into the numbers of people broken down in the different age range, etc. We can't have the result of the census. Every budget, the Minister of Finance promises that we will have the census, and we're still here 2 years hence and we don't have the census. So we don't know what is really going on. Today we saw the Prime Minister trying his best, to come across as though he's on top of things and so on. But every time you ask him something, he had to get a pen with his people and do some calculations to come back to you. Many persons out there, and this is what makes me sad. Many persons out there for whom this 100,000 means so much to them will not get this 100,000, as we're told today. And had it not been for the opposition MPs, the public would not know that. What we were told, given an explanation, not by the Prime Minister, whose office is in charge of the distribution of this grant, as per the financial paper passed today, but rather from the minister responsible for finance, that this is the first tranche. And so only persons that are in the database that is the public servants, the pensioners, so will get from this first tranche. And then it seems to be that they're still working at the work table to find out the difference in terms of the remainder of this $30 billion, who they will next put in line to receive. So the question is, 30 billion, we're talking about 300,000 people. If the public servants, I don't think the public servants are more than 80,000. The pensioners would be around 20 to 25,000 persons on an average. So they can't say what category of persons will also benefit from this $30 billion.
So many unknowns.
And then they're saying that they will come back in the budget. According to the Prime Minister, they will come back in the budget because we're at December.
So quite a few people would not receive this cash grant way into February of next year.
Exactly. So when are they going to pass budget? Not on the 1st of January. Are they going to bring the budget in the first week of January? Then what? Budget takes about 2 to 3 weeks. So we're at the end of January. So by the time budget is passed and so on, then we're looking at February. And will they have a plan as to how they're going to distribute the remainder $30 billion to the other sections of the Guyanese society? What is the plan? But you build people hopes up that they're going to have this money by the end of the year. And that is what is hopeful.
And it started out as instantaneously.
Yes. It started off as instantaneously.
And next year, February, people will still be waiting with a pink
slip. And we're talking now till around February, perhaps March of next year. And so, when you hear people saying all sorts of negative things about the way in which they're treated as an ordinary citizen, I mean, this is a classic example. This is a classic example. I mean, one would have believed that you would have tried to do something using the database which you already have and trying to work to ensure that those persons who are not in any government database, that you work simultaneously, trying to ease those ordinary citizens out there who really need this 100,000, man. And that is very sad.
The finance minister said recently, no ID card, no cash grant. So perhaps your passport wouldn't go.
Well, I have news for the minister responsible for finance, that there are persons in this country that don't have ID card and don't have a passport, which means he doesn't understand the dynamics of people in this country. They're poor people. Poor people. First thing, they have problems in getting a birth certificate. And you have to have a birth certificate in order to get an ID card. So what mechanisms are in place to help those Guyanese who fall into that category? There are some people who never saw a birth certificate in their life. All they know, somebody said, you name plantain chips. And that is what they have been going by all the days of their life. They've been using christening papers and all sorts of things. What mechanism is in place to help those persons so that they can access their piece of the pie? So we have confusion at its best, perpetrating from the government side with this cash grant. Now, if we have this type of confusion to give out 100,000, you can now understand what took place when there was the $25,000 household grant.
Yeah.
It gives you an insight into the thousands of people who were disenfranchised. And so, the government dress up fancy and they want you to believe that they got everything under control. But the petticoat showing. The petticoat is showing they do not have it under control.
Guyana, get ready for a night of nostalgic and classical hits as the PNCR presents a grand oldies party on Saturday, November 30th at Congress Place Fire, featuring Super Ray one-man band, Big P one-man band, and Determined Family. Join us on Saturday, November 30th at Congress Place Sophia. Don't miss this night of unforgettable tunes and timeless memories. Admission is just $1,000. There will be a well-stocked bar and finger foods available. Come out and support this event.
Welcome back, folks. So that's just some of what took place, and I'm happy that seasoned Member of Parliament Vola Lawrence laid out for us some of what transpired in the National Assembly during the course of the day, because you might think I tell you, you heard her say in that introduction there, as we drill down and deep dive into this whole cash grant thing, that's so chaotic, it's so chaotic, ad hoc, what this government is doing. And you heard her say there, the Prime Minister indicated we coming back. Then come for the full thing, he said we take off first half here. See how it work out. See how much people we capture. And then we can come back next month. And maybe catch something else. I'm not making this stuff up. If you don't believe me, folks, listen. The Prime Minister in his own words. The Prime Minister in his own. He said we coming back just now. What madness is this?
We already said $60 billion will be required. And we are asking for 30. We are asking for 30. Is that 50% of the people who are eligible? 50% of the people who are eligible will be covered by the 30. All we're saying, Mr. Speaker, today is the 27th of November. And by our work program, we're going to push hard to pay everybody in the shortest possible time. By the 31st of December, it is envisioned that we will expend, if not all, most of this money. And in the next financial year, we'll ask for the next set of money.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister.
You heard it there. These boys know what they're doing. It is clear as day. It is clear as day. They do not know what they're doing. And they're bluffing the Guyanese people. You know, Irfan got called another 5:30. Irfan will have... They're bluffing, Pinky. Sonia Massey Cup, they're bluffing. Marlon, they're bluffing. Bluffing the business. Bluffing. As I said, we did sit down with some of our MPs on the sidelines. Chairman of the Alliance for Change, David Patterson, here's what he told us. What he thought of this shenanigans of the PPP.
It's a strange phenomena going on here. First and foremost, they're saying that this allocation of $30.5 billion is to cater for half of the population. But we know, and everyone knows that there's not that many adults in this country. Everyone knows that the voters list is bloated. That is why we work on it. It's 718,000 persons. So I do suspect that, and knowing the PPP, every cent of the budget will be spent, even if there are only 500,000 persons, adults in this country, because that's what the census will say, because 23% of our population is below the age of 18, school children, infants, and those things. Every cent will be spent. So a phantom, non-available 200,000, 150,000 persons will be paid. They would never, obviously, you know, I mean, and they're saying that this is only for Guyanese in Guyana, you know, I mean, obviously, who register. So those overseas, unless they're going to do that, going to Liberty Avenue and register them shortly after. So that's one of the issues we have. If your people should remember, there's always a contention about the old age pension. That there are more people on the list that Human Affairs has than actual pensioners in England. This is an exact similar issue, you know what I mean? They're using this information just as another way to cream off money for themselves, you know what I mean? So that's almost like 150,000, that's almost $1.5 billion. If you start $15 billion, that can be creamed off because of this, using this fictitious number of 700 and something thousand persons over the age of 18. Cheryl, please remember that the list that we have, this are people 14 to 14 years and above. That's what the GCOM list is. And GCOM list is 718,000 according to Madam Chair just a couple of days ago. So it's a quantum leap to say 18 and above is now, based on what they're saying, 710, because if this is half and double is 710 persons. So they're saying only 8,000 Guyanese are between the age of 14 and 18, and which we know that's quite impossible, you know what I mean? Plus, because if you take the numbers that the Because We Care grant, and Because We Care grant, they boast lyrically about 79,000 persons, and that they're all school age persons collected. This Because We Care almost 100,000. You can see what's really going on here. So it's well, I mean, obviously you're glad that persons are getting a bit of money. I do suspect, and I do strongly suspect, it's just another way of the PPP skimming off 10 to 15 billion dollars for obviously their coffers.
But David, are you worried about this kind of system? Look, for instance, in Suriname, they're able to tell us every citizen will have X amount deposited into a bank account. This will be the percentage every single year. They seem to know clearly what they're doing. This government, since October 10th, told us instantaneously households are going to have it, then moves to individual adults, then moves to something else, ID or nothing. And then you hear every day they seem to be changing this. Where we as a country, after several iterations of cash grants and handouts and hampers, we still don't seem to have a coherent system.
Well, you see, I mean, that's the PPP. The PPP has never had a plan. They've just gone from one idea to the other, one harebrained scheme to the other, you know what I mean? And it's a pity. I mean, Suriname has 250,000 persons or 300,000 persons. Not only they're saying that they're depositing more money, 750 US dollars in their bank account with a set interest, they're also doing it enshrined by law. So therefore, obviously, governments change, whatever it is. There is a legal law. If you don't get your money, you can actually do something because it's obviously against the law, not a PPP. And they've always said, oh, this is a one-off. Entirely electioneering process here, you know what I mean? Just like the contracts they're giving out to those, and we're glad for the contracts and those things that they're giving out to these small contractors. The quality of the work, unfortunately, is not of any high standard. But that's what they do. They piecemeal feed every single person in this country. They starve you all year, you know what I mean? And then like Santa Claus at the end of the year, they come. They haven't even announced to the public servants how much wage increases they will be getting as well, you know what I mean, they haven't even increased the old age pensioners, you know what I mean, I think, so forth. So this is just another gimmick to try and stem their free fall in their popularity that they are. I mean, obviously, persons should collect their money, but do the right thing, you know what I mean? When it's time to vote, you vote them out, because obviously, whatever we as the opposition will be putting a far better system and far more money and far better guarantees than you can get.
Yep. But what you don't hold them out. David is absolutely correct. They ain't got no system. They're adverse to systems. They're adverse to proper procedures and so on. The more murky the thing is, obscure, better for them, more for thief. So they don't tell us, we coming back. That's what the Prime Minister told us. We coming back, take a half now. Pitch it out, let's see how it work out. We coming back. So they come for 84 billion, 30 billion, going to the cash grant, 50. So all kind of things now that should have been catered for since the national budget passed in February. All kind of capital expenses. And they don't want you ask questions. One of the things that taking this 50 billion and pay for his guard service. Guard service like you never see guard service before. Guard service for guard school in places you never got to school. So Ganesh Mahipaul, speaking to the people on the ground, hearing certain things, he put a question to the minister. He said, Minister, one of these services I hear you have an interest in it. You might got a conflict of interest. Well, who tell he for set up? And who tell the speaker to allow the question? Priya won't fight the speaker, you know. Priya and Gail, which won't fight the speaker. Won't fight Ganesh, they won't fight. You mustn't ask questions. They must tell you what questions you must ask. This is a parliament? Or is it a set piece? Is it a parliament? Look story here now. Look trouble now.
May I ask also, sir, that there is a company that is in the public space, Centaur Investment Inc., where the allegation is that the minister has some ties to the contract, to the company. May I ask the honorable minister if indeed this company is in receipt of a contract from her ministry, and if so, what is the sum? And could she say the respective companies in the ministry that is in contract with the ministry, what are their sums and the names of the company? Thank you, sir.
This is an honorable house, young Mahipaul, honorable member. You don't bring the street corner gaff in here.
Honorable Minister, please. You can take that line of answering outside of the house. So right now,
Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Minister, I'm on my feet.
the honorable member should retract his earlier statement before we go forward.
Honorable Minister
He should
Teixeira, I'm on my
retract it, sir.
Honorable Minister
Before he's allowed to
Teixeira,
ask any other
I am
question.
on my feet. Honorable members, I'm not going to tolerate any breakdown in this aspect of our session this afternoon. And we have seen absolute disregard by two honorable members in this House. When a speaker stands on his feet, everyone sits and shut up. And I think I have the privilege and luxury of using that word.
Yep. Here the fella tell him, sit down and shut. You have a conflict of interest. Minister, you don't. It's him. You should want to fight Ganesh, fight the speaker. You see, she got very hot and bothered there. You see, we got to deal with in this house here. Michael in this house, you got to have a fight, you know. In my mind, guess what I'm thinking? What the farmer logical happening here? What the farmer logical what story is this? Of course, we sat down with the Honorable Member of Parliament, Ganesh Mahipaul, on the sidelines of the sitting today. Here's somebody told us.
Well, I want to start by saying, first of all, that the PPP consists of a set of wicked, evil, thieving people. And I can't put it in any other term. Because when you look at these financial papers, you see that there is only need for more money, but they don't want to account to the people of Guyana. If we're to take the first financial paper into account, which is the sum total of 456 million.
This is the first of the two brought today.
Yes, the first of the two that were brought today. 456,851,845. And in this sum, the Ministry of Education is requesting $119,283,522 for security charges. But I said to the minister that there are 5 companies that were awarded contracts in your ministry or for your ministry, and the sum total of those 5 companies amounted to $900+ million. But we gave you in budget 2024 a sum total of $1.2 billion for security charges. So why is it that you need $119 million more? And the minister could not answer, still did not answer, and I believe would not be able to answer. We gave you more than what the contracts were awarded for. And the difference is somewhere around $158 million. So they could have facilitated the payment of these 5 contractors for security charges. But I think that these are the times we're in where the PPP is going to come for monies through the National Assembly to facilitate elections 2025 and campaigning. So they're going to use taxpayers' money at their whims and fancies to facilitate campaigning. When you look at the second financial paper and you look at the remarks column, you see them telling you that it is for provision of additional resources to facilitate an expanded work program. The 5:30 meeting told us clearly that they can't even complete this work program, that they are lagging behind with this work program. But you're telling me you're coming for more money for an expanded work program? You don't have the capacity to execute the current work program. The PSIP, the Public Sector Investment Plan, it is lagging. And there is no justification, save and except to say that you want to blame the public service and the public servants. Well, AFAN may have to call 5 o'clock meetings now, because that 5:31 seemed to not have worked. And maybe there is need for a 5 o'clock meeting now. But Sherrod, on the more serious side of things, They are just requesting more money with no proper justification. And it is quite clear that these monies will be going to their friends, families, and favorites so that they can get the drawback to facilitate elections 2025 and their methodology of campaigning. And you will see it. When the campaign is rolled out, you will see how they will spend. You will see the exorbitant spending for campaign 2025 with the intent of fooling, with the intent of like a duck swimming in water, where you're only seeing the top looking very calm, but the bottom, the fast paddling of the duck, you're going to see that come elections 2025. You're going to be surprised at the stage, the music, the artists, everything they're going to try to put into a nice show with an attempt to fool the Guyanese people. But as I said before many times, and I'm saying again, for 5 years, because 2025 will be 5 years, the Guyanese people suffered high cost of living, selective tendering in terms of who's getting the contracts, friends, families, and favorites. We heard Priya Manikchan call out a name today in the parliament of a person who is closely affiliated with the PPP receiving contracts. And it is just about their small clique. The ordinary man continues to suffer, and they shall not be fooled as we lead up to elections 2025.
Ganesh, are you concerned that they didn't seem to want too much on the record? For instance, when this thing is going to roll out, even from this 30 billion, when Guyanese will have money, the second tranche, when is that going to happen? They didn't seem to know what category. I mean, the vice president did say pensioners and public servants, but this has been a shifting slide in the various criteria, who will benefit at what point. But it didn't seem to want to put into the Hansard here exactly who is getting this monies that they're trying to appropriate now and when they're going to get it. So much is unclear.
There is no structure in place. There is no plan. The People's Progressive Party just happen to have a lot of money at their disposal thanks to oil and the oil resource, but they are not intelligent enough to spend that money. They have no plan in place, and all they're seeking to do is to find means in which they can give the ordinary people a small amount of money in a stretched out period so that they can use it as elections gimmicks. And that is exactly what they are doing. There is absolutely no plan, and that's why they can't put one down. There is serious concerns about the distribution, because indeed Irfan said instantaneously when he made the announcement in Parliament, everybody heard him loud and clear, instantaneously. And we're months now, and it can't seem to be rolled out. And I don't know what is the rationale behind the fact of only coming for 30.5 billion now, when you are clearly telling us that you know you need 60 billion. So there is no intention of the government to give everybody this money by the end of Christmas or by the end of the year. There's no intention. They can't, and they will not. They're intended to stretch it out as far as possible so that they wouldn't have to give a second round of cash grant, because they want to steal all for themselves. But I know any administration that would have focused on structure, any administration, if they had focused on structure, if they had focused on a proper system, if they had focused on a manner of distributing this money in a structured way, it could have been done in 2-3 months. And the Guyanese people would have been ready to accept again another set of monies as cash grant, probably in August of next year or thereabout, to assist them, especially with this high cost of living. But the PPP is not interested in giving the ordinary, hardworking, tax-paying Guyanese of this country the monies from this oil wealth. They're not interested in that. They were forced to do this one because Jagdeo and all of them were against cash grants. We know that. They were saying it's not sustainable, it's not economically feasible, it will bring inflation and hike and inflated prices and all sorts of things Jagdeo himself was saying. And today they're doing it because they were forced to do it. The opposition kept saying that you have the money, give the people. You have the money, give the people. And they were not yielding to that, but pressure bust pipe. And they're doing it now. But you see how they're doing it. They want to stretch it out for it to last like a whole year so that they wouldn't have to come again. It's all part of their gimmicks. And I keep saying, Guyanese people are sensible people. Guyanese people are knowledgeable. And Guyanese people understand that the People's Progressive Party is bad for business. The People's Progressive Party is all about thieving for themselves. And they're excellent masters at the art of thievery. They have displayed that countless times. And there's only one solution to this big problem that we have in this country. We must vote them out.
Thievery. You heard it, folks. You heard it. How you could trust people like that? How? And then when you start drilling down in the questions now, they start balling out. You start drilling down and say, Gail, what happened here? Gail begging, oh, Mr. Duncan, You simple questions you're asking them. And then hear this admittance. I don't even know what happened here. Folks, you see, old age is not crime, you know. Old age is not crime. It's when in your old age you recognize you pass your prime. Then it becomes criminal. Simple questions you're asking. You're begging now. Huh? Oh.
I'm taking advice from the experts from the PAC, Mr. Duncan. Please take it easy, Mr. Duncan. It's too early in the day to get revved up. I don't want your pressure to go up, sir. Don't want your pressure to go up. So I'm advised by the experts. I know nothing about some of these things, I confess. So in response to Mrs. Lawrence, the period that you're asking about is September to December. And the percentage in regards to the costs of the rangers, etc., is 75% of the 58 million.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable members, I now put a question.
Yep. Simple questions being asked. The begging. The Honorable Amanza Walton-Desir pose a couple of questions to the minister, well, the Prime Minister, because it's his office, believe it or not. It's the Prime Minister's office that these funds are being distributed through. The Prime Minister's office, not the Ministry of Finance. And as the questions now brackling the Prime Minister, of course, y'all know Mark Phillips and to top side. Things brackling, Ashton had to step in. One of the things that Manzo asked, Manzo said, Honorable Prime Minister, public servants, for instance, draw pay. Most of them in the system for years, all of them, you got an ID card because y'all pay them. You got some amount of the biodata. You're paying these people. Why are you still requiring of public servants ID cards? You can run your register, see who on the books, and pay the people the cash grant. As she said now, we don't want people to register twice because we're also in the communities. You see, we are also in the communities registering. Here's an idea. Why not say to our intelligent public servants, don't register. We got you captured because you're in the system. It's not GCOM system. It's not the General Registrar's Office system. It's not the immigration. It's your pay system. When the questions brackle the PM, as she said, Mr. Speaker, lie help you a little bit.
I'm not speaking specifically to the question asked by the Honourable Member Amanza Walton-Desir, asking why a registration stage is required for public servants when we already have them on the payroll. Indeed, we do already have them on the payroll. The reason why registration is required for everybody is because in addition to processing public servants' payments simply by virtue of the fact that they are in public employment, we are also registering in the communities. And the people who work in public offices also live in these communities. And so in order to ensure that we minimize and avoid and eliminate as far as we possibly can duplication, it is imperative that everybody be registered.
No sense. You gotta let them know it. No sense. Some public servants ugly. Don't register. You're a public servant, we got you. You're a public servant, we got you. Sat down with Amanza as well. Amanza, I'm the shorty. I'm the short and totish. The honorable member.
Well, I gather from the PM's responses today that they are not very well prepared for the disbursement of this cash grant. I think we in the opposition have been very clear. Guyanese need all the help, need all the relief that they can get. And so we support measures that will bring meaningful relief to Guyanese. The difficulty is, however, that the government cannot lay out a proper plan for the disbursement of this cash grant. Even the amount that they came for today, from the PM's own mouth, he confessed that it will take care of only about 50% of the people who are entitled to it. And so it begs the question, what criteria is the government using to determine who needs it the most and who needs it first? Where did they get their numbers? Because we've been awaiting a census for the last year. So where are they getting their numbers? He couldn't answer that. Then he could not explain to the people of Guyana what is the rationale for this re-registration, particularly of public servants, when every public servant is covered by a payroll within some ministry that would have all of their information, their ID cards, etc. They could not offer a particular rationale for it. The Minister of Finance, or the Minister of Responsibility for Finance, attempted to offer an explanation, but all he did was to convolute the entire thing. And you couldn't tell when he was finished whether he was saying that you will need to register as well in the community. It's just mired in
Public servants are
opacity.
intelligent people. You could simply say to them, do not register because you're already captured.
Public servants are intelligent people. They keep the wheels of this country turning. And just like you pay them every month, this is something that could be done. But I suspect that this whole registration process, the government is trying to buy time. They're trying to stretch this process out for as long as possible. And as well, I think they're using it as a data collection exercise. Because really and truly, we didn't see this type of exercise when it came to the COVID cash grants. And in fact, what are the people who will not get the money in the first tranche? What will they? Will they be given a yellow slip? So there is no, or a pink slip, there is no clearly thought out mechanism. You look next door and you see what the Surinamese government has done. Clearly, they have thought it through and they will implement it. We, I think, continue to be shortchanged as Guyanese by this government that come and they throw things and whatever sticks, sticks. First, it was an instantaneous 200,000, and then they had to go back, and then it became 100,000, and then now you have to go through this long process of registration that makes absolutely no sense. Now, when you look at the administrative cost attached to having public servants who you already have all of their coordinates re-register, you see that it's one, either a waste of money, or two, there is definitely some nefarious intent behind it, because no serious government that claims to care and want to get relief as quickly to their people as possible would engage in this type of time
And just last week,
wasting.
they told us a part of this administrative process of registering folks will be handled by an app.
They said an app, but Vice President Jack, there was somewhere there saying they were building an app. So there is no plan. And instead of coming to this house and saying to the people of Guyana exactly how they're going to roll this thing out, the ministers on the government side, they prefer to trade insults. You heard Kwame McCoy today disrespecting women in the house again, and he had to be chided by the honorable member, Minister Vola Lawrence. And so that is what they do. When they do not have answers for the Guyanese people, they resort to ad hominem and personal attacks, and they feel that they could debase and insult. So I'm afraid that after today, the Guyanese people will not be any clearer as to what will be done with this money. What we are clear about is that there is no plan. What we're also clear about, based on what the Prime Minister has said, is that everybody is not being catered for right now, and he could not give us a time when the rest of people who are not covered will be covered. So it's really more of the same.
Guyana, get ready for a night of nostalgic and classical hits as the PNCR presents a grand oldies party on Saturday, November 30th at Congress Place Fire, featuring Super Ray one-man band, Big P one-man band, and Determined Family. Join us on Saturday, November 30th at Congress Place Fire. Don't miss this night of unforgettable tunes and timeless memories. Admission is just $1,000. There will be a well-stocked bar and finger foods available. Come out and support this event.
Yeah, welcome back, folks. Welcome back. Why not let us conclude where we started? Why not let us conclude where we started? Where it all started. Folks, more than a month ago, Irfan Ali, standing in the National Assembly, told this country that he's giving every household $200,000 instantaneously. More than a month later, we're no closer to doing that. The Prime Minister, Mark Phillips, told us they're taking at $30 billion now. See how they get through with that, and then they're coming back. Even though we know that they need at least 60 billion. They have said that. They have said that, at least 60 billion. And that is why I had to ask what I asked today in the National Assembly. What is happening here? What is happening here? Folks who may have missed it when we started. My question to the Prime Minister, this thing all over the place, it's confusion, like confusion powder.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, members of the parliamentary opposition, we're seeking clarity not in a vacuum. It was this honorable government that came to this house on the 10th day of October and told us that we are going to get 200,000 per household instantaneously. And we went on that. And then they came back and said it's in about 5 months. And then they said it was going to be through an app you're going to register. And now you have to register in person. And then we heard the finance minister said overnight, if you don't take your photograph, you can't get the money. Right? And then we saw the Attorney General speak on biometrics, and then the Vice President said he don't speak for the government. So we're seeking clarity in the House. Right? This has been, Mr. Speaker, you would recognize this issue of the cash grant. It has been an enigma wrapped in a mystery. And that is why we're seeking the clarifications we're seeking here this afternoon. Because one person says something else, the president says instantaneously, the vice president says no, in 5 months. In this very house, the president said instantaneously.
Okay, honorable member,
So
for clarity, what do we want to ask the honorable Prime Minister?
Right? The question that I have, my first question, Mr. Speaker, is what percentage of the population is represented in this requested allocation, this 30 billion?
Honorable Prime Minister.
Prime Minister, half of the population for the 30. We're going with half of the 30 billion, so half of the population. They couldn't tell you where they're starting and where they're finishing, folks. The closer for tonight, person who shadows the finance portfolio, MP Director of Finance, we spoke with her as well, folks. The closer, in her own words, what she saw, what she witnessed, what she thought of this show that happened today. National Assembly today. They come for 84 billion. They don't want you to ask questions. You saw right here. They're trying to fight Ganesh, they're trying to fight the speaker. Because he asked if they got a conflict of interest. The MP.
What's interesting is that the government is bringing before us today a financial paper, like you were saying, for $84 billion. And of the $84 billion, only $30,500,000 is being sought when it comes to this 100,000 cash grant. which Guyanese are anticipating, because everyone is in a struggle right now. Persons are desperately in need of additional resources to deal with the increased cost of living, particularly when it comes to the Christmas holiday that is fastly approaching us. The price of goods in the market will be going up. This is a fact. The government is only coming to the National Assembly today to ask for $30,500,000 to give to Guyanese 18 years and above. And we already know that pensioners and public servants will be covered and is expected to be among the first set of persons receiving. Public servants being just over 54,000. And the government is telling us, first of all, there's no clear responses given to the questions being asked in the National Assembly as to the distribution mechanism, as to how many persons and from where they're looking to cater for, and so forth. They can't say because, as usual, they never have a proper framework in play to get things done in a very efficient manner. The question was asked, and I have to repeat what my colleague was asking about, why is it that you need to have your ID card and picture taken as a public servant when you already have those information in a database that you're being paid for on a payroll every single month. The responses that are given does not say much to the Guyanese public. What I can say right now is that when all Guyanese were expecting that this money would have been in their pockets for utilization because they desperately need additional resources by the end of the year, what was made clear today is that that will not be the case. All Guyanese 18 years and over will not be in receipt of the $100,000 cash grant by December 31st. That was answered very clearly by the Prime Minister in National Assembly today. What he could not say is actually who are going to be the persons that are going to be covered. So there's more questions than answers. And I have to say that persons are anticipating it because they need it. And I would say once you can and you are able to, as fast as possible, make sure you go out and register for this money. Now, the registration, I've been getting a lot of questions. Persons are calling me, messaging me as to why is it they have to give so much information when it comes to this registration. Particularly, persons are not comfortable to have their photographs taken. This is something that I have been answering questions for. I have to say that as it is right now, that is a requirement to get the monies, and I would encourage persons to just abide by the process and go out and have it done. Because if you do not do that, what I can tell you is that you will not get the $100,000, but it would not go back into the consolidated fund. Somebody will collect your money. It will never go back. Whatever money they approve in the National Assembly, all are spent. Whether or not it gets to the recipient that is supposed to reach to, it will never go back. So your money will be in somebody else's pocket if you don't go out and register to collect it. So on that note, I'm asking persons to just go out and register. I did find out when I did the registration myself today, I did find out who are the persons that are actually going to be in possession of the data that they're collecting. And I was being told by the persons collecting the data that only the Ministry of Finance will be actually having your data and so forth, which begs the question, I must say, shared as to why is it that we have a census that is supposed to be completed and the Ministry of Finance now is going about another exercise that you would think that they have a lot of census information for already. And it gives a lot, I believe that when this exercise ends, we probably would see the census results coming out. And I'll have a lot more to say in that regard when that time comes. But as it pertains to your initial question, I know I said a lot about the cash grant there, but as it pertains to your initial question as to what are the other expenses being sought, because I said before, 84 billion, that's being sought right now, only 30,500,000 is going towards the cash grant. So all the rest of monies are being allocated to other agencies, different line items. One of the things that we have been seeing, every single every single financial paper that we've seen in National Assembly since 2020 from the PPP, I don't know what is it about them and security charges, but every single time they come to the National Assembly for more money, it's increased charges when it comes to security services. Every single region, every single agency, somehow, some needed increased monies for security charges. But the problem that I'm having is that I am yet to see any part of this country from 2020 to now that actually had any significant increase, or some of them had no increase when it comes to actual wages and salaries given to security personnel. So we have this increase in all of that, and we've been told some story just now in the National Assembly about VAT and persons not including VAT before, and they had to include VAT. It's really crazy. When it comes to the other expenses that they're bringing before us right now, you will see, and I have the financial paper before me right now, financial paper number 4. And you will see, and I can read it, provisions for additional resources to facilitate an expanded work program. And that repeats itself over and over again because they don't intend to give you much information on what they're using these monies for. What it says here is that the government is basically incompetent, that the budgetary process that they have undertaken every single year at the beginning of the year, which starts the year before, it has not been working because they always have to come back for monies to facilitate certain work that they should have been able to anticipate these expenses way in advance, but they've not been doing those things in a proper manner. Hence, we have to come back here. And a lot of the things that they are doing, they are wasting the resources. So at the end of the process, now they have to come back for more money. So that's what we're seeing here, Sherrod.
Any other thing you want to add, Julia?
Well, what I can say, Sherrod, is that every road has an end, right? And as we are right now, we're almost at the end of 2024, 2025, we're going to be having another national election. And it is our duty to continue doing the work and exposing the incompetence of the PPP in the National Assembly, but it's also the duty of the people out there to make sure that you prepare yourself to remove these people from office so that you don't have to go through these things again. We have seen so much incompetence, and when we have not seen incompetence, sure, when it comes to incompetence, I mean, this is a whole different conversation. We have just witnessed a 5:30 a.m. meeting that showcased incompetence in the country, that made it very clear and showed you, the people of Guyana, that every ministry have a bunch of incompetent people, and His Excellency had no shame in putting that on display for the public to see. So, and on top of the incompetence, what we do have now is corruption. So this is what we're dealing with every single day. We have witnessed in the National Assembly moments ago, the Prime Minister stood up and called out expenses on the line item that it has no business being under. And when he was questioned as to why, how can you have these expenses called out here? He's trying to justify that it can be done. It is corruption, it is mismanagement, it cannot be done in that manner. You had the Minister of Education being questioned when it comes to expenses that she incurred, she said, on the financial paper number 3, that's a contingency spending. This is monies that they're coming to say that they had to go into the contingency fund and spend these monies before. So now it's basically coming to the National Assembly just to get it approved and to be for us to go on with the business of the House, because this is not money they're asking for to spend in the future. It's money that they're saying that they've already spent before. What we had today is the Minister of Education actually answering a question as to what she intends to do with these monies, and basically saying that, oh, for the rest of the year, these are the expenses. And when persons point out to her, you cannot come on a contingency paper to say that you're going to spend it for the rest of the year. This is supposed to be money that you've already spent. She answered then and said, well, this is a commitment, So these are the ways in which they're continuing to showcase, like they showcased to Irfan Ali, that they're incompetent and they're mismanaging the public purse. And we have got to pull ourselves together, gather our families together, make sure that we prepare ourselves so when that date is announced for 2025 elections, that we're all there in our numbers to get them out of there. And that will be my closing comment.
Yeah. There you have it, folks. Thank you guys so much for staying with us a little bit into the overtime. But that's our time for this evening. And that's our program. We're going to keep you guys posted. No doubt they're going to get the amount passed this evening. But we got, as you heard there, several of our members of Parliament, some severe severe, grave reservations. The structure of the thing is so rickety and shaky. You know there's bound to be massive corruption to this scam grant. Thanks for joining us, folks. That's our time again, and that's our program. Stay safe. That's the last bell. Good to have had all of you on the live this evening, and those of you who stayed on with us. Hazel and Coral and Heaven Faith, Pinky, Michelle. Good to have you, Mark, Diane, Auntie Sandra, Hanover, folks. We gone. That's it. We're going to see you guys in the